Hi, I'm Frank Patterson. I have the pleasure of serving as the president of Trilla Studios here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I wanted to talk to you today about some of the fundamentals of storytelling. Actually, I want to focus on one fundamental part. And if you can learn this basic piece of storytelling, then I think it's a great start to becoming a storyteller in the future. You've probably already heard from friends and family, or if you've read anything about storytelling, that a story doesn't really exist without conflict. But what does conflict mean? It can mean a lot of things. There's a term I like to use when I think about conflict that Robert McKee introduced in a book called Story, and the term is called binary tension. Binary just means two things working together at once, and tension is just another word for conflict. I like it because it's a little bit more subtle word for conflict. And so an example would be a lie, and the truth. So those are two things that can work together in a story. Have you ever been telling somebody something and then have somebody believe that you're not telling the truth? That's frustrating, isn't it? It creates tension. You're telling the truth, but someone believes you might be telling a lie. And that's frustrating. But that's the kind of tension that helps create a story. If you think of a movie like Black Panther, there was binary tension going on throughout that movie. One of the main tensions in that movie is the tension that's created between tradition and change. And that's frustrating to people. A lot of times people want things to stay the same, like T'Challa did in that movie. Needed things to stay the same. But in order for him to assume the mantle of the Black Panther, he was going to have to learn to change. And guess what? The character that he was at most tension with in that movie, Killmonger, was really the person that was pushing for change for him and his people. That movie wouldn't work. There would be no story without the binary tension of tradition and change. I think of another story that's over 400 years old. Very famous story, Romeo and Juliet, by the very famous writer William Shakespeare. These are a young man and a young woman who love each other, and they just want to be together. And if it's just purely about love, but their families hate each other. So the binary tension is love and hate. If the families didn't hate each other, and you were sitting in the audience, you'd say, just kiss each other. It's done. You guys love each other. Just kiss each other. The reason you can't is because the families hate each other. And so that whole story is built around why Romeo and Juliet cannot be together, right? So the binary tension is between love and hate. If you can start thinking about your own lives, here's a hint. Great stories come from the lives you've lived personally. And the reason you get attracted to watching a story with binary tension, with all this conflict, is because this is the conflict that you have inside yourself every day. You tell yourself stories about yourselves. And sometimes you're not very nice to yourself. You might say to yourself, I'm not very pretty, or I'm not very attractive, or I'm not very smart, or I'm not very brave. And the truth might be that you're really quite brave. And you learn to struggle with that binary tension as a human so that you one day might be brave enough to, for example, get up and publicly speak. And that tension that you have inside of you is what you learn to work out by watching stories that great storytellers tell. So if you're going to become a storyteller, you're going to have to learn to tap into that binary tension in yourself so that you can become really good at the craft of creating stories that others will want to watch and learn about the world and about themselves. So that's the basic lesson, and I'm going to give you an assignment about that lesson that will help you begin to explore the idea of binary tension. Enjoy.